that was. So here we are a day later. And this is my first prototype. This is my first prototype. So this is going to be the, this is going to be the left side. So my chair would be the one to my left. This is pretty much the way it's going to be. I had a little bit of trouble doing the angles here, which not for nothing really irritated the hell out of me. So the next step is to cut holes in it, but I'm going to wait on cutting the holes until I actually have the physical speakers in my hands. So the next thing I got to do is I bought over here, I forget how many board feet of cherry, but I bought a whole shit ton of cherry. I made the executive decision whilst building this that I'm not going to clad the whole thing in cherry. I was originally going to do that, and I'm like, you know what? This side here, the back side of the speaker itself, you're never, ever, ever, ever going to see. So my game plan is to mill up all this cherry and then do my glue ups and then kind of decide what I'm going to do. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to overrun the cherry on the sides and the top by at least ½ an inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch, to kind of hide the back of the speakers a little bit. I could, in theory, we'll see how much wood I have. I didn't buy enough wood, intentionally didn't buy enough wood to clad the whole thing in cherry. I really don't think it needs it. So that's it. There was a lot of tweaking that was involved with this. So I'm going to take this upstairs and I'm going to plop it down in position and then make a final decision if this is actually what I want. I kind of hope so, because not for nothing, I'm out of wood. All right. Okay, so I'm back. I made some templates here for the speaker holes, and this is my somewhat rough, but I think going to be final layout for these speakers. So this is the left side speaker. So if I'm sitting in my chair, this speaker would be to my left. I oriented the two woofers here and then the tweeter here. Interesting thing about the tweeter is the cutout for the tweeter is actually only this big, and it's going to need a little bump here because the tweeter surface mounts for the most part. So this is actually the outside of the tweeter, but the inside is here. The speakers actually, this will be the hole for the speakers, and actually I need to tweak these a little bit because let me show. Actually, these are the cutouts for the speakers, right, for the woofers, but they're actually bigger than that. So if you flip this over and you look at it, so they'll be a little bit bigger. I'm trying to make the speaker assembly or the placement of the woofers as compact as possible for a couple reasons. The main reason is I'm making these out of cherry, right? So that's the other part of this here. So I've got all my cherries milled up. If I need more, I can get some more. But I need to do some glue ups to get the right width for the front and the tops. So right now, basically, these are all cut. These are all milled to 3/4 of an inch, which I know is way thicker than it needs to be for any kind of veneer. This isn't really a veneer, so to speak. It is a veneer, but it's like a super duper thick veneer. The other reason is I want these pretty high because these are going to sit on the floor. I want the speakers to be, I want the woofers to be, I don't want to say ear level, but pretty close to my ear level. These speakers are actually going to be a little taller. This one's short because the bottom's not on it, but these speakers are actually going to be this much taller. I need to get the height. Nice if I had a fucking measuring tape, which is right here. I actually want the final height of these speakers to be 28 inches. Somewhere between where they're at now, which is 24 and 28. So these pieces of wood are actually cut for 29. So my game plan here is to overrun the cherry on the bottom by probably an inch, and then an inch on either side. So it's gonna, the backs of these speakers are gonna be, they're just gonna be MDF. I'm just gonna paint them because I don't need the back of them to be cherry. I'm not Macintosh, right? So yeah, it's going to overrun, and then it's going to have, you know, 3/4 of an inch on the top, right? So the tops are going to be 3/4 of an inch thick. The fronts and the sides are going to be 3/4 of an inch thick, and then I'm going to run them over. The tops and the sides are going to run over another 3/4 to 1 inch over the sides, and then the bottom is going to run down maybe 1.5 inches. We'll see. We'll see how much of this lumber I have. Now I need to do some glue ups. I'm going to spare you the glue ups. I need to lay these out and decide what the grain pattern I want is. I've got some pretty nice figured wood here. It has some real nice figure to it. So I kind of want that to be the front, but I also don't want to lose it here because this is actually going to get a grate over top of it. I bought them at T-Sol. I bought the material for the grate. So I'm either going to do a grate, I'm going to make a grate, a frame and a grate to go around it, or I'm just going to order the actual speaker grates from Parts Direct. They make grates for these speakers, the speakers and the tweeters. Actually, the tweeter I could just leave open because it looks pretty cool, but the speaker looks like shit, so I may end up just getting 4 grates. I like the look of the tweeter, and the exposed tweeter does not offend me, but the exposed speaker does. So I have to consult with my manager before I make a final decision on a full grate with a frame, like a framed full grate over this, or just get 2 speaker grate covers, or grate speaker grates to put over them. I think I'm going to go with the 2 speaker grates, because I want the most exposed wood that as I can possibly get. The other thing I could do, if I was feeling really cheeky, is to make the speaker grates out of cherry, which is also an option. I hadn't quite gone that far. If I do that, I got to spread them out a little bit. So this is all still preliminary design work here. But I have to consult my wife before I do anything beyond this. If I do the grates, I have to take into consideration the space around it. If I make them out of cherry, I got to do it that way. If I make the grate square, you know, that's another thing. I'm actually leaning towards leaving the speakers themselves exposed without the grate. Like, the woofers will be covered, but the speakers themselves will be individual pieces. Yeah, I'm really actually kind of liking that idea. It's going to be 10 times more work to make those, but I might do it that way. So I have to rework this layout out. And this is the way I do everything, you know. Jump in head first and then tweak it as I go. Okay, here we are a day later, give or take a little bit. So this is my left speaker. I built this template here to cut the holes with. I can't cut a round hole to save my life, and as a matter of fact, these aren't round. They're as close to round as I could get them. So the next step with this particular part of the project is fasten this to fasten the template to the speaker box here, and then I'm going to take a router with a collet on it, and I'm going to route these holes out. I pre-measured these. I pre-fit the tweeters and all. Yes, I understand the tweeter doesn't go all the way in. There's these the connections stick out of the side of the tweeter. So I'm gonna I'll have to use the router to hog out to fit the tweeter in. So this will mirror, so this is the way I want, yeah. So this is the way I want the speakers oriented, okay, in the unit. The instructions that came with the kit, well, no instructions came with the kit. The instructions that were online, that's something I should note. I don't know if I noted it earlier, but the actual box that the parts came in did not have instructions in them. So you have to go online to Parts Express website, and they have all the schematics and all the directions for building boxes and everything that you need online there. So the next step here is to cut these holes out. Now I still haven't glued this box together yet. But what I did do is I glued all of my material together for the veneer. Okay, so it's off camera, but I have, oh, it's not here either. But all the cherry is ready to go on. So my game plan is to cut these holes with the router, or at least get them to where they're consistent with the router. Hopefully I won't snap another. Hopefully I won't snap another bit. I can still use a jigsaw to hog it out, and then go back with the router after I get the holes pretty as straight as I can get them. I'm actually just going to screw this panel to this piece because this is all getting, remember, this is all getting covered. So I'm just going to take some tech screw, or just going to take a couple of those SPAC screws and run them in so I can run the router around it and not damage or make them pretty round. And then, so this is the left side, and then just to get it straight, we just flip it around and do it that way. I probably spent more time making this template than I would have taken to just take these, tape them on here like I did the first time, and then draw circles and cut it out with the jigsaw. But I like to do templates just for the sake of argument, in case I decide to make another set of these for whatever reason. I have a template, and I can use it for the router and blah blah blah. I do wish the holes were a little bit more concentric, but they are well within the I'm well within the, for the sake of argument, I'll say fudge factor. My entire existence in the audio world has always revolved around me screwing up the holes for speakers. So that's why, the other reason why I built this template. I hope, and my fingers are crossed, that I have enough room between the router collet. This is the router collet I plan on using, which is pretty tight to the bit. So this is probably a less than a 1/16 router collet. So when I go around this with the router, it should be pretty close, and there should be enough room. If there's not, I can always clean it up a little bit. I can always make this hole a little, I can always make these holes a little bit bigger. I roughed them out with the jigsaw, and then I cleaned them up on, I cleaned them up with the, just my spindle sander, just to get them as close to round as possible. The only one, and even this one doesn't matter, because I'm going to surface mount the tweeter. So the tweeter has a pretty nice edge to it. So we got that going for us. And then these speakers, I actually ordered from Parts Express. I ordered the correct 5 1/4 inch grates for these. So the grates will cover all of this. I was originally going to make a frame and then use traditional speaker cloth over top, and then cover these with traditional speaker cloth. Well, it didn't fly that way. The other thing I'm doing too is I'm raising these up in case I'm raising them up. I want them higher because I want them closer to my ear level. I could lower them down. I could put them in the middle of the speaker, but I didn't really want to. I kind of wanted them offset. The other issue with that is if these speakers are too bassy, I can put I could block off the bottom with a piece of MDF if I have to. The other thing I'm going to do with these speakers is I'm going to make the bottom removable. I was originally not going to do that. I was originally going to make them so everything had to be accessed through the front ear. Theoretically, for some reason, I don't know. I just chose not to do it that way. I'm going to make the bottom so you could take it apart. I think. I haven't decided yet. You know, make an access door in there. Why build something custom if you can't make it custom? Oakley dokley. So where are we? Well, this took a lot more fiddling than I was hoping for. Why must I suck at math and geometry? Or geometry is math, right? So I had to fiddle with these joints a good bit to get them to be nice and tight. So here's where we're at. So this is the cherry. It fits pretty nice up in there. I have to clean the joints up just a little bit more, but I'm not ready to do that yet because I still need to glue the box together. So right now, this box is just screwed together. As a matter of fact, this is screwed together too. If I don't glue the box, it's going to vibrate, it's going to buzz, and it's going to drive me batshit crazy. So we can't have that. So basically what we got going on is this, and then this side here fits in there like that. I don't want to jiggle it too much. So the joints are pretty tight. You know, my joints are waist tight. My rhymes will floor you. If you want a long one, baby, I got one for you. Once these get, you can't see it from that angle, and I'm not going to change the camera angle. These joints are nice and tight. So once all this stuff is screwed and glued together, I'll be able to sand it and maybe put a tiny little bit of filler in the joint itself. Usually when you get a nice crisp edge like this, you can actually just take a burnisher and burnish the edge down, and it'll come out really nice. The other thing I did, and I actually am going to move the camera for this one because this was shady as fuck, but I did it anyway, because why not, right? I had so my game plan here, my original game plan was to cut the top first and then cut these to fit. Well, not for nothing, I screwed up my very first cut this morning, which was the piece for the top here, and I had to glue 2 more pieces together. So the final fit's actually going to be the top. 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. But let's talk about this setup I got going here. So if you don't have one of these, I highly suggest it. This is a compound. This is a compound miter saw, but it's also a radial compound miter saw. This thing is badass. So to get it to do this, you got to fiddle with some of these controls here, and then it'll flip all the way over. I didn't actually put a square on it to make sure that it was a pure 45. Doesn't really matter because everything's going to get cut on this saw. So if it's off by a little bit, I can fiddle. Oh, here's my other embarrassment of the day. I broke another spiral bit. That makes like 10. I was trying to take too much of a cut. The other thing I had to do is I had to modify the my template here because of these little ears. The way the tweeter is made, the terminals are on the outside of the tweeter, and you have to machine for those, or else it won't work. You'll notice there's a considerable amount of overhang off the bottom of the speaker. Well, that's because when I cut the MDF, I screwed up. I cut the MDF at 24 inches to get the maximum amount of MDF. The truth of the matter is these boxes are way bigger than they need to be for these speakers. So, but I wanted the speakers to be 29 inches high. Well, the easiest way to do that was to add this false facade to the bottom of them. And then what I'm going to do at the end of the day, I'm going to block the bottom down, and then I'm going to put these spikes in the blocks. The other thing I may possibly do with this, and I haven't made the full executive decision yet, because I may not have to do it. I kind of want to, but I may not have to. I may actually make the bottom of this box removable in case I need to service it. Theoretically, everything can be done inside the box here. I don't need to actually. I don't need to make the box open on the bottom. I still haven't decided yet. I'm right at the precipice of. I'm right at the precipice of whether or not I'm going to do that. The other thing I did was just for my own anal retentiveness. I took a 5/16 round over and I rounded over the outside edge. Inside edge is still rough. So basically where I'm at right now is it's kind of time to assemble. Yeah, pretty much it's time to assemble, to glue them together. Now, I have a little bit of a conundrum in that I need to fasten the outside, the facade, the veneer for the sake of argument, needs to be fastened. I can do that. I could probably get my impact gun through one of these holes. The easier way to do it would be to go from the bottom. And then when everything's all glued up and nice and square the way I like it, I can put the bottom in that way. I am also going to use QX3 or PL3X as my adhesive for this. I was originally going to use regular wood glue, but I figured, what the heck. I'm going to use, these joints will be wood glued. So I'm going to wood glue these joints, but all the other joints and the veneer itself is going to be glued on with the PL3X. The biggest issue with PL3X is you cannot get it on anything that you don't want to that you want to paint or finish or sand or anything. I don't know what this in that stuff, but it will not take paint in any way, shape, or form. And it will soak into the wood. So if you get it on the outside of the wood, you got to wipe it off with solvent and then sand it. Once you get it off, you have to physically sand it. You also notice I didn't sand any of this stuff yet either, because my game plan here is to get both boxes completely assembled, and then I'm going to sand them. I'll sand the crap out of them. I thought about running these parts back through the planer because I didn't use caul boards. I didn't use cauls when I clamped these, and I did get a little bit of cupping, and I got a little bit of, there's about 10 thou. On this one in particular is about 10 thou. But I have so much, there's 3/4 of an inch of cherry here. I could sand this down for a good long while and get it to the exact surface finish that I want, which is going to be a polished finish. I purchased another pint of Rubio Monocoat, which will match the doors. These aren't going to match right away. Cherry in particular has a tendency to oxidize incredibly fast. So when I install them, when I put them in the house, when I finally hook them up, put them in the house, they're not going to match. They're going to take it's probably going to take 2 or 3 years for them to fully match the doors. I knew that going into this. So that's it. Yeah, we got these go in. I've got 3/4 of an inch of overhang on the back side, which I can leave. The back of these are going to be painted black. I cleared that with management. For a lot of reasons, they're going to be painted black, and the biggest reason is it's the back of a speaker. Nobody's ever going to see it. I've mentioned it before. I'm not Macintosh, so I don't care. These are literally one-of-a-kind custom builds for a specific space. I just hope that it works out the way I wanted it to. Like I said, these were never supposed to be, they were always supposed to be this tall, and I hope she's not, they're a lot bigger than I thought they were going to be, basically, is what it comes down to. They're actually so much bigger than I expected them to be. I bought extra stuffing for the boxes. All right, so there we go. The next video will be probably, I don't know. I don't know what the next video is going to be. We're going to see. This is my first one. This is my prototype. So you know, I still have another one to build. I'm learning on this one, which is kind of a bit of an understatement.